Boy, I hope he's qualified.
When blacks in America did not have the same rights they had today, they were less murderous, there was less break-ins. Why is that? And the data shows they were actually better in the 1940s. It was bad, it was evil, but what happened?
A certain skin color now gets their own summertime celebration. Oh wow, look how far blacks have come. It has now become a racial complaining day. Remember what BLM stands for: burn, loot, and murder.
Yeah, DEI stands for
one of the biggest.
Didn't earn it, just so we're clear.
Can we also acknowledge, due to the laws under Jim Crow, that black people were significantly hindered from economic advancement?
This is a really important question. The data shows not really. Black Americans are poorer today in 2024 than they were in the 1950s. The disappearance of the black father has been the #1 driver of black poverty in this country. At least agree that black dads not being around is a bad thing.
Anyone's father not being around is a bad thing. Starting in the 1980s and continuing onward, there's been a war on drugs. Is this correct?
I like the war on drugs. Blacks commit more crimes than whites do. They commit more murders, they commit more arsons, they commit more kidnappings. That's not a war on drugs, that's a culture problem. Why are so many blacks committing murders outside of their population? So we've spent $20 trillion on uplifting black communities, $20 trillion, and black Americans are poor. Food stamps, subsidized housing, Medicaid, public schooling, subsidized college. We're talking about $20 trillion that has been spent on the Great Society, and yet black America is poorer, more murderous, more dangerous.
Part of
what does equity mean?
is
you mean taking from
allowed.
other people?
Sorry.
I see everybody in the chat saying it's half clips. We gotta just do small clips for the time. But Doc, I know that you know who Charlie Kirk is. Do you feel like Charlie Kirk is racist?
Not at all.
Okay.
What about you? I feel like he.
Yeah.
I don't know if I would put the racist tag on him. He's definitely a white man who's not in touch with what happened in black culture or what's going on in the black systems of America. I mean, he's definitely out of touch with that. Does he have some points that could come off as racist? Yeah, I mean, saying black people commit more crimes than white people is just a flat out lie. You can go look that up. I've done a study on it. I actually wrote a paper on it when I was in school. That's not true. They'll try to use words like per capita to make their point and, you know, all these things. Do black people commit crimes? Of course. But I think he needed that spice to add to that, to incite these people who look like him and dress like him and walk and talk like him to follow him. And I think part of having that position is what, you know, allowed people to, because certain people feel like this, and it's why they follow them and why they listen to them.
Before Ken and Mr. Rippey respond, because I want to be fair, because people are showing those clips, but it's also clips where he's not being racist. So I'll play this from Kaizen, where he was actually saying that race is just a social construct.
Guy you're calling a racist?
One thing that white people and black people have different biologically.
Don't change the question of this. Like DNA-wise, we are different.
No, we're not. That's a lie. It has been disproven. Front page of National Geographic 6 months ago. Racism created by society. Race is a social construct that I want to break out of.
Hold up. He doesn't even believe in race. The Oxford English Dictionary defines racism as prejudice based on race, or the belief that some races are inherently superior. But if Charlie's a racist, why is he arguing race doesn't exist? If he's a white supremacist, doesn't he need race to be real? I mean, you can't be a racial supremacist while arguing racial categories are fake. And wait a sec. Race has been used to justify oppressing black people for centuries. So why is the black kid defending racial categories while the white supremacist wants to destroy them? This isn't new for Charlie. He's been saying this for years. And guess what? He's right. Here's the history of race. People always noticed skin color, but it mattered about as much as hair color. Slavery existed everywhere, and it was practiced by every skin.
All right. So, Mr. Rippey, do you feel the same way?
Well, I just want to talk about the clip that y'all showed before. I'm trying to find something racist in what Charlie Kirk was saying. He's basically saying, you know, hold yourselves accountable, take accountability. And every time somebody says black people start holding themselves accountable, they're labeled as a terror person, even though it's just the truth. So the numbers that he talked about when it came down to prior to the Civil Rights Act being passed, black people were actually thriving. We're outpacing white people in wealth accumulation because all the money stayed in the community. So you want to talk about redlining and talk about the oppression, talk about Jim Crow laws and things like that. At the end of the day, all the money stayed within the community. That means the millionaires did not move out of the community. They would stay in there. And that's the reason why black people are outpacing white people in wealth accumulation. Once the Civil Rights Act got passed, Lyndon Baines Johnson put in the Great Society Act, which made the woman married to the government, and then they put drugs into the black community, which, you know, of course, they're talking about the war on drugs, which is very detrimental because a bunch of politicians put together some crime bills that caused mass incarceration of people of color, unfortunately, with the 100 to 1 bill, the 94 crime bill. So it's all been systemically set up for us to fail. But prior to the Civil Rights Act being passed, you didn't hear nothing about crime like that. You didn't, unless it was like racial crime, but you didn't hear nothing about, you know, the grandparents scared of their, you know, scared of the black grandkids, because black people we are killing each other. You look at the most highly cities with the highest crime rate, it's usually predominantly black, and it's so unfortunate because we're doing everything in our power to to focus on criminal justice reform, put the fathers back into the home, and start focusing on a thriving black culture, black society, and put money into the black community, put money into education in the black community, and get us back to a thought process that we have where we're actually thriving and focus on being family oriented and stopping the violence instead of looking at ourselves as a victim and looking at the outside. This is racist, and that is racist. That's my opinion of what has to stop. And I agree with Charlie on that.
Ken, what about you?
When you say this though, you say you go and you say this, you know, this violence that was going on, it wasn't going on in this community. That's disingenuous for Charlie Kirk to say, because he's not going to go and say, I just had an uncle just die. My uncle was 89 years old. My uncle was Charlie Kirk's age before they got rid of Jim Crow. So yeah, Charlie Kirk doesn't have no idea about Forsyth, Georgia, hanging black men from trees out here. He doesn't know about the social racism. My uncle was 30 years old before he could walk through the front door of these businesses that are downtown. Charlie Kirk doesn't speak about that part of the black.
I agree.
He didn't. We didn't keep it in the black community because we wanted to. We kept it because we had to. It was an institution set in America. So when he says, "Oh, you're outpacing," we were staying in our community. We were forced. That wasn't that was a social construct forced to keep us there. That stunts your growth.
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with that. He talks about the Jim Crow. He talked about the harsh things I went through, the people that got lynched in Tennessee. I'm not denying that. I'm just saying we had a certain mindset. We focused on family values back then that we don't focus on now. I mean, back in 1950, 4 out of every 5 black kids have both parents. Today, only 1 out of every 5 black kids have both parents. Minister Farrakhan speaks on this. Barack Obama speaks on this. But when Mr. Rippey and Charlie Kirk speaks on this, it's always being shut upon. But that's, in reality, if a kid grows up without a father, that kid is 20 times more likely to end up in prison. It just was simply set up for us to fail. And then they put it in our culture as well. And our culture is very detrimental. I mean, we look at every time we look at something in the entertainment industry that's ran by white people that want to keep black people down, they push in a certain agenda. That's the reason why the overdose rate has increased by like 1,800% in the past 5 years, because they went from talking about selling drugs in the 90s in hip hop to doing drugs in hip hop over the past 5 years. We see the pattern. And the thing is, we got to get these fathers back into the home, start being fathers again, and focus on the family structure. I think we're all in agreement with that.
Before Ken respond, Nathan, thank you for the True super chat. W. Mr. Rippey, this don't know goes to him. And thank you, Patricia. Patricia didn't say anything, but thank you for the super chat. Ken, what's your thoughts?
So when Mr. Rippey is saying get the fathers back in the home, how would you go about that?
All right, so a blessing, of course. I mean, I'm sure y'all heard of the First Step Back, right?
Yeah.
So of course, First Step Back. What happened was there was a lot of black people that was released from prison from nonviolent drug offenses. You know, we had the war on drugs that caused mass incarceration of black people. So what we're doing is we are working with politicians to get these people's sentences either massively reduced or completely expunged. So we're focusing on how to remove felonies so that these black men can actually go apply for jobs without no type of restrictions. They're actually able to vote. They actually be able to be a member to society, because these kids need fathers that's been set up to lead down a path that wasn't really meant for us to ever lead down. And they just made one mistake and come to all these stupid crime bills They just locked up all these black folks. We need to get them out. And we have, the First Step Act has released thousands of black men and put them back into society, remove their felonies. And we constantly keep doing it over and over and over. We're still doing it. We're actually working on something right now that's going to be really big, and it's going to hit in December.
So are the majority of black fathers that are not in the home, are they in jail?
No, not the majority.
So the ones that are not in jail, how do you get them back in the home?
Well, the ones that are not in jail. So we are basically, first thing first, I'm sure everybody know about the fact that with the welfare state, what they used to do is they used to go inside the home of the women, make sure there are no men there. So they have been conditioned to separate the family. So we need to get in there through education. I think we need to focus on the youth, focus on the young people, because older people, they're already, their brain has been so screwed up that it's kind of hard to get to them to get them to think about a different ideology that they had their whole entire lives. So we get to focus on the young people, talking about the family structure, how to be a father with Boys and Girls Club, Big Brother programs. These are things that we have going on because there are a lot of teenagers out here having kids. And what is the result? Either I can't afford this baby, I have to go, or we're just going to struggle, or we're just going to go to an abortion clinic. There are alternative routes there, and we are here to help.
Now, during Jim Crow, the lynching that was going on, those men were fathers and married.
Yeah.
So if every black man that you seen on the street or that was in jail, if all of a sudden they were at home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would, and this is historical fact, right? And if white Americans would continue to be disenfranchised because of automation and jobs being outsourced, and they're not able to make income, would violence against black men pick up like we seen in the early 19th century?
No.
Why you say that?
I think so. So you're asking if,
because one of the things when we never talk about why a lot of these homes are fatherless, there was a lot of families that had men in it that were lynched. Those were married men. They had great jobs. They were Christian men, non-violent men, right? When we talk about fatherless home, we always we never actually deal with the psychology of a white American male when he's poor.
Yes, because it's the same problem doesn't exist in white America. I said this in 1950, prior to the Civil Rights Act, 4 out of every 5 black kids have both parents. So even if we look at the black people being lynched, which is, it's tragic. It happens. It's unfortunate. But at the end of the day, why are we lynching ourselves today is what I'm trying to figure out.
I want to read.
Beyond.
Shout out to Cool Eric 95, $20 super chat. Big thanks to you. Lyndon B. Johnson literally was a devout racist and shouted from the rooftops what the plan was and has been working ever since. I don't know what more any black person needs to know.
He literally said, once we get these niggas on government assistance, they're going to be voting Democrat for the next 200 years. They literally destroyed the black family, and we see the results.
Well, before everybody else goes, I want to play this clip because people are basically saying that all the violence is coming from the left. The left is blaming the right. So who really is the problem?
We don't need it. What is interesting here is why is only this happening on the left and not the right? That's all we need to know. There's absolutely no cognitive.
What about Melissa Hortman that we just talked about?
You want to talk about Melissa Hortman? Did you know her name before it happened? None of us did. None of us were spending every single day talking about Mrs. Hortman. I never heard of her until after she died.
She doesn't matter?
Don't play that bullshit with me. You know what I'm saying is there was no demonization, amplification about that woman before she died. It was a specific crime against her by somebody who knew her. The same. Now you could bring up Josh Shapiro, but then you will not bring up, for example, that was a pro-Palestine person. So don't use your. What about this? The fact of the matter is the both sides argument not only doesn't fly, we don't care. We don't care about your both sides argument. That shit is dead. For one thing, there is no cognitive dissonance on our side. On your side, your beliefs do not match reality, so you're coming up with these rationalizations like, what about this or what about that? We're not doing that because we saw it happen. We saw a young, bright man assassinated, and we know who did it. We are not coming up with rationalizations. We are calm, we are honest, and we are resolute. We're not defensive, and I understand the defensiveness. I understand why people are saying, what about this and what about this? Because if you have to face the underlying fact to this, your life is going to fall apart because you're going to realize you're not the good guys. If you sat around and you defended the mutilation of children, you're not the good guys. If you sat 600, 700 cases of harassment against Republicans and you said, but what about this? What about this? And then you see this murder after calling somebody a fascist, you realize maybe I'm not the good guy. That is a hell of a realization to deal with. So Therefore, you have to grasp at rationalizations. You don't have to do that, Jessica. They do. I don't believe you're part of that group, but why the hell do you have to mimic and echo that crap to us? He was a patsy. That guy was a patsy. He was under the hypnotic spell of a direct-to-consumer nihilism, the trans cult, and you know that. If you can decide that biology is false, you can agree that murder is okay and that humanity is expendable. How you cannot see that alone and see that for what the evil it is without having to attach all of these other things is beyond me.
I just want to be clear. I want to let people speak. I in no way intended at all to minimize what happened to Charlie. I was horrified by it. I have not been on the five
but
since
the two
then.
sides argument, well, it's like pig Latin to a duck.
No. All that I was saying is could we have all of the information before you just say they did this? Because that is a broad brush to paint with this. And this kid
Let's have a conversation.
No.
Charlie had a conversation. He got shot. Look, I'm sorry, Jessica. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You weren't here for a week. You came in here and it's cold. And I'm sorry, but this is a story that is immune to news cycles. It's immune to rationalizations. It's immune to bias. This thing is with us for good. And we all have to deal with that. So that means we can't live by the same arguments that you might be reading about relativism among the media. We can't deal with those stories. It doesn't matter. The media is dead to us on this story. They built this thing up. We're dealing with it. We're going to act. We don't care what the whataboutism is anymore. That shit's dead. Sorry. For the swearing as well. I apologize to the American public. I'm going to shut up for the rest of the show.
Well, that was a lot. We got another super chat from Patricia. Thank you, Patricia. When discourse ends, violence begins. Thank you guys for continuing to debate and educate each other with love and respect. I think that's a quote from Charlie Kirk. Doc, is it both sides?
Of course, it's both sides. It's radical leftists. It's radical people on the right. It's radical from both sides. I think, and those are the people who get the spotlight. I think the more radical they are, the more attention people give them. They know this. That's just the American way. We want to hear the biggest, loudest, most controversial take, and then we want to get on live and argue about it. I mean, people are making inferences online about what the shooter liked, who the shooter dated, was the shooter trans to begin. I think Charlie Kirk had a big message. People resonated with it, and some people vehemently opposed it. And I think that's something that can cost you your life in this country. Like that's just real. And I take it back to one of my biggest things is I think Charlie would have respected it had he even knew it ended this way. I think one of his points was there's an acceptable amount of deaths for us to have our Second Amendment rights. And I think people agreed with him when they didn't think he would be part of that acceptable amount. And I think that that's just the American way. Like there are going to be people who commit crimes, and a crime was committed against Charlie Kirk and it cost him his life. It shouldn't have, but that's just the way it is here. It shouldn't be that way, but that's the way it is.
All right, but we got another $20 super chat out of Cool Eric. Appreciate it. Another 20. Yes, the radical get the spotlight because they cause the biggest reaction out of people. Very, very really has anybody just walked down the street and had someone go into a racial tirade for no reason. I mean, how do y'all feel about what he said?
I don't think Cool Eric ever lived in the South. Yeah. I done caught a couple of straight niggas walking down the street before. You know what I'm saying? But that ain't to talk about just the complete, all white people. That was just that white person was a racist, overt racist. But there's some straight niggas out here. You'll catch one, you walk down some of these streets down here in the South. That's disingenuous.
Well, what I also want to talk about is a lot of people are losing their jobs and losing money because of what they're saying about Charlie Kirk. So I'll let Mr. Rippey and Ken respond on this. But this guy was performing, and he